Welcome, my friend, to video 5 of the 7-video series of the Blazing Heart and the Daily Bread. I'm very excited about doing this one for multiple reasons. One, I love talking about environment. It is so very important to this topic's particular because, again, like I mentioned before, just like a real fire, the 3 elements of the Blazing Heart are absolutely crucial. They're critical in order to have a healthy flame. And what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to just condition our spirit to be out there to really put ourselves in a position where we're able to fulfill our ultimate purpose and we're able to be the greatest of stewards of the gifts that we've been given by God. And so it's really exciting to be able to talk about environment because this is something that people really don't I guess pay enough attention to. A lot of people they talk about your purpose statement, and that's a very common thing. And again, all kinds of coaches they really talk about your belief systems and everything else, but when it comes to the environment, for some reason, I haven't figured it out on a massive scale yet, but when it comes to the environment, we really do not we're not very strategic with it, or at least not nearly strategic as we should be with it. And a lot of times for people, their environment is what actually holds them back from positioning themselves to fulfill that purpose and really have a life of fulfillment altogether. So at this point, we've done our purpose, and in our purpose, we should have this very vivid, enthralling purpose where we know exactly what we're trying to do. We know exactly how we want to utilize our gifts. We know exactly the impact that we want to make. But in addition, we should at this point have an understanding of the joy. How is this going to impact Christ and what he wants for this world? How is this going to impact others that surround us, or that we're going to have the opportunity to touch their lives? And then finally, how is it going to satisfy ourselves? Again, that's something that's very important. I will say this: the ultimate freedom in life is when you are using your gifts, for your spiritual, your spiritual assignment. I really can't explain it, any clearer than that. What happens is we've been given these gifts, whether the gifts are in music or they're in business or organization or science or government, whatever it is. There are things that are just really inherent as part of us because God gave us these talents, and when we're able to use those talents in order to honor Him, it's like we tap into that love channel that we had before. And so at this point, we should have that very, again, vivid purpose. You should be really excited about things that are to come. And then, the previous video, just right before this one, we talked about your beliefs. And we talked about the 3 primary beliefs. God is real, everything's happened for a reason, and that we're perfectly positioned and conditioned to do God's will. This moment is for us now. And it's those types of beliefs and the additional ones that you put down, as far as the beliefs that are particular to your life and to your calling, that you were to put down, that's going to give you the fuel to be able to not only take action every day on what you're doing, but also to be able to overcome the challenges and the obstacles and everything else that we're confronted with. And so through the conditioning of those intentional beliefs that you put down, it's just, again, anything's possible. But when it comes to this environment, I just cannot emphasize this enough. There are things that you need to do in order to position yourself to be able to strengthen both that flame and to keep that fuel burning. All right. And, the first thing when it comes to environment is we have to recognize there's some environmental things that we have complete control over, and there's some that we don't. The ones that we have complete control over, it is up to us to be diligent and intentional about ensuring we position ourselves in the most favorable environments possible. All right. Whether that's at work, it's at school, it's at home, you name it. Even again, the congregations, churches, the extracurricular activities we do, sport, whatever it is, we need to make sure that the ones we do have control over, that we intentionally position ourselves the best way we can. But in addition to that, there's some that we don't have as much control over. Some of those may be in our homes, some of those may be at work, some of those may be in our schools, some of those may be again on our sports teams, some of those may be in our clubs, and we have to be we have to recognize that. By recognizing that, we really position ourselves to where we're able to kind of mitigate the exposure to those a little bit. And if we take the right steps, what we're ultimately able to do is make it so that not only do we not allow them to take away from our fuel and from our purpose, but if anything, we may be able to give to those environments and really position them to do something that is well beyond what they're capable of doing without us. So, we're talking about those two environments. Now, what I will say is this, is that with the ones that we have complete control over, those are the ones that we tap into. And the ones that we tap into are the ones that are supposed to feed us, especially as it pertains to the other two things we had talked about. And so we want to go out and seek those and do the most we can with those. But the ones that we don't have as much control over, we have to create what's called a microenvironment. Basically what that means is that, we have an environment within an environment that we have complete control over, at any time that we need it. And as a result of us having complete control over it, we are able to make sure that it is feeding us. But because we exist in this much larger environment, we're now able to through osmosis, really contribute to the people that are around us and contribute to the space around us. All right. And so there are a couple key things that we want to do to both get the most out of the environments we have, but also to leverage the opportunities that come from the microenvironments we want to create. The first of that being that the daily bread. I mean, I cannot emphasize enough how critical the daily bread is to me as far as the environments that I have. That is the ultimate microenvironment, if you want to call it that. Having the opportunity, you'll see what the daily bread is in the next two videos. But having that opportunity for prayer, the opportunity for the reading, having an opportunity for reflection, having the opportunity for recognizing your blessings and everything, really is a special thing that we can do to ensure that we've conditioned ourselves to be able to approach the world in a positive way. All right. So, the first thing, at least for me, the first thing that goes on that top line is the daily bread. Now, there's some additional things that go below that. If there's a certain type of music, or there's certain videos, or there's certain things that, again, feed into my purpose and feed into my belief systems, then I'm actively putting them down here too. Maybe there are conversations, there are coaches, a lot of my clients, I have them put, coaching. Maybe you have a counselor, maybe you have, just a friend, accountability partner, whatever it is. All of these things qualify as a favorable environment that you want to recognize and absolutely tap into in order to strengthen yourself to be able to fulfill your ultimate purpose and really to be a good steward of the gifts you've been given. But there are two other things that especially for people who first start out, that I like to emphasize that goes a part of environment. Now, the first one has to do with what a favorable environment looks like. All right. So we talk about these micro environments. Well, the thing is there are environments, and there are certain virtues that a healthy environment has. And it's very scriptural, and I'll go over how I was introduced to this, and then ultimately how this applies to you. But there's a great friend of mine who's a business associate, and what he had told me is that he had a man who was doing studies on favorable educational environments. What type of environments create the best students, the most academic achievement, most work, most professional achievement. And what he did was he said, okay, he was a Christian himself, and when he was doing the study, we said, okay, I'm going to actively go out into this country, and I'm going to go ahead and see, what are these specific virtues that are happening. And what he discovered is that, through the interviews and through the exposure to these different places, that in almost every case, at least one, if not multiple, of the fruits of the Spirit was present. Now, why is this important? The reason why it's important is because, again, a lot of these organizations, a lot of these schools, these teachers of the year, whatever else, okay, many of them weren't even Christians. I mean, we're talking about academics right now, and I'm sure most people who are watching this video are very familiar with the separation between church and state. And so right now, to say the fruits of the Spirit are in the classroom would be something that, I'm sure would get flagged without hesitation, right? But it's interesting because even though they did not actively identify them as the fruits of the Spirit, when the fruits of the Spirit were present, people thrived. Which is again just exceptional and awesome. And so what I suggest to everyone is that when they have control of an environment, that the fruits of the Spirit are present, and especially when they have the opportunity to impact others and really put put their love on others, that they use the fruits of the Spirit as a guide with it. All right. And if you don't know already, you can find the fruits of the Spirit in 5 Galatians 22 and 23. So I'm going to go ahead and read, this really is the whole chapter of 16 down to 26, so that you have an understanding of the scope. But fruits of the Spirit specifically are Galatians 5, 22 and 23. Starting at 16, though, I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. These are contrary to one another, so that you do not do the things that you wish. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are evident, which are adultery, fornication, uncleanliness, lewdness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contentions, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambitions, dissensions, heresies, envy, murders, drunkenness, revelries, and the like, of which I tell you beforehand, just as I told you in the time of the past, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. Starting at 22, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no law. And those who are Christ's have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking one another, envying one another. And so those fruits of love, joy, peace, suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, if we ensure that the environments that we subscribe to and the environments that we have a great gift and benefit to form includes all of those things, just truly magic happens. Magic happens in those. All right. So in addition, especially when it comes to these microenvironments, so now we're talking about the ones that we need to basically protect ourselves inside of those. And then again, this is part of what we're actually putting on the environment portion of the Blazing Heart. You're going to go ahead and go to Ephesians 6, starting with 10, going all the way through 20. All right. So this is the whole armor of God, which again, a lot of people are familiar with this, but what I'm hoping to do for a lot of people is for them to understand the power that can actually come from putting on that armor of God every single day and protecting themselves, knowing that they're getting ready to go into these environments. But this is how they protect themselves from being tainted by them, and really positioning themselves to make an impact in them. All right. So starting with 10, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, with which you are able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked one, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, being watchful to this end, and with all perseverance and supplication for all the saints. And for me, that utterance may be given to me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains, that in it I may speak boldly as I ought to speak. And again, that has to do with basically imparting the Spirit on the people that are around us. And so, when you're observing the whole armor of God, you want to go ahead and start with 14, stand therefore with your waist, and you end up going through all the way to 17. Okay, and that's where you end with the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, because the word of God is our weapon to the world. So at the very least, the three things that I encourage anyone to put on their environments are the daily bread, okay, which again you're going to see in the next two videos. It's going to, you have the armor of God, okay, because the armor of God is what's going to protect you and is really going to help you create those microenvironments. And finally, the fruits of the Spirit, which is the ideal environment for us to truly achieve and share profound things to the world. And so again, guys, thank you so much. If you're to this point, I'm so very excited for the prospects of your life. I'm so very excited for the prospect of the lives of people around you. So God bless you. And I look forward to sharing even more with you in the next 2 videos.